The text pinged my phone right as I was pouring coffee in my little 3-bedroom ranch on Maple Lane. Clubhouse lunch. 1 p.m. Sharp. Don't be late. Sophia. No birthday emoji. No love you. Just my big sister being her usual HOA president self. Today was my 28th birthday, and this was apparently how the Langford family celebrated. Another command performance where I'd play the role of neighborhood embarrassment while Sophia and Mom took their bows on the perfectly manicured stage of Madison Estates. I should have known better than to show up in jeans and sneakers. But honestly, I was exhausted. Tired of the endless HOA violation notices. Tired of pretending their version of success was the only one that mattered. Madison Estates sprawled across 40 acres of Connecticut suburbia like a pastel prison. White columns, golf course views, and rules so strict they made the military look relaxed. No flags on holidays. Grass exactly 2.5 inches. Mailboxes painted estate beige only. And God forbid your trash can sat out past 8 a.m. On pickup day, Sophia stood at the clubhouse entrance like she'd been born in a yacht catalog. Designer sheath dress. Hair sprayed into submission. Pearls catching the October sun like tiny judgmental eyes. Mom hovered beside her in head-to-toe Chanel, flanked by the usual clique of women who looked like they'd been Botoxed at birth. There you are, Sophia sang in that sugary tone that always made my stomach curdle. We've been waiting. Again, the way she said, we, told me everything. I was already the problem, and I hadn't even crossed the marble threshold. Traffic from the city was brutal. I lied lightly, keeping my voice breezy. The city, Mom's delicate sniff made it sound like I'd confessed to living in a dumpster. Still in that tiny ranch house with a what's it called? Home office. It works for me, I said. Sophia's friends had already pivoted, their laser gazes sliding over my jeans like I was a walking code violation. I knew that look. I'd grown up choking on it. Well, shall we? Sophia chirped. I'm absolutely starving. My sneakers squeaked traitorously on the polished floors as we entered. Soaring ceilings, crystal chandeliers, oil paintings of dead founders who'd probably written the original ridiculous bylaws. Old money trying to cosplay as new money while enforcing rules that would make a dictator blush. The Langford party, Sophia announced to the hostess like she was granting knighthood. Of course, Mrs. President, the woman simpered, leading us to a table overlooking the golf course. Beautiful view, perfect setting, and me looking like I'd just rolled out of a Target run, which, to be fair, I had. So, Mom began without glancing at me, studying the wine list like it held state secrets. Sophia has some exciting news. Do tell, I said. Sophia practically sparkled. Marcus proposed. We're having the engagement gala right here next month. The whole HOA board, all the right families, Sebastian's partners, everything has to be flawless. She gestured grandly around the room, eyes landing on my outfit with surgical precision. This clubhouse is perfect. Very exclusive. Very refined. Beautiful venue, I agreed. Yes. Well, we're fortunate to have such standing here, Mom said. Your father's connections helped. Of course. Though Sophia's position as president certainly maintains our image. The implication floated like cheap perfume. I contributed nothing to the family's HOA prestige. Marcus's family has been on the board for 3 generations, Sophia added. His grandfather helped write the original covenants. Impressive, Mom cut in sharply, unlike some people who can't even manage to dress for a simple family lunch. I took a sip of water and let it roll off. You said lunch. You didn't say formal. Any event at the Madison Estates clubhouse is formal. Dear, Mom replied. One would think that's obvious by now. The waiter arrived like divine intervention. Sophia ordered lobster thermidor, Mom the filet, and I picked the chicken salad, safe, boring, cheap enough not to trigger a lecture about my finances. Then the real performance started. We're planning the gala for 80 guests, Sophia announced. All the right people. Naturally. Of course we'll be selective, Mom interjected. The HOA has standards. We can't just invite anyone who might lower the tone. I felt the trap closing. Which reminds me, Sophia said, voice dripping fake sympathy, about the gala guest list. We're keeping it intimate, just our inner circle. I understand, I said calmly. Do you? Mom asked. Because last time we had a community event, you showed up looking like this. That was the 4th of July barbecue. You said casual. Casual doesn't mean impoverished, Sophia laughed. Honestly, Riley, you're 28. When are you going to get your life together? Something twisted in my chest. But I kept my tone even. My life is together. Living in that ranch. Working from home on your little computer thing, Mom waved vaguely. Data analysis or whatever. You're not exactly where we hoped. Sophia's been HOA president since 26, Mom continued. Look at her now. Beautiful home. Successful fiancé. Control of every rule in this community. You could learn something. I'm happy for Sophia, I said honestly. But not ambitious enough for yourself. Mom finished. It's disappointing. Riley, your father would be disappointed too. There it was. Nuclear option. Dad died 3 years ago, and Mom still weaponized him like a golf club. I think Dad will be proud, I said quietly. Proud of what? Sophia asked with real curiosity. What have you actually accomplished? I could have pulled the folder from my bag right then. Deeds. Financials. Corporate papers proving everything I'd built in 6 silent years. But I'd learned the hard way. They never listened. They'd already cast me as the failure. Evidence from me wouldn't change that script. I'm doing fine, I said instead. Our food arrived, and we ate in blessed silence for maybe 3 minutes before Sophia's phone buzzed. Oh my God. Mom, the Whitakers can come, and they're bringing the Harringtons. Wonderful. Mom beamed. We'll upgrade the menu. Filet instead of salmon. Champagne, the good stuff. Spare no expense. This is a celebration of Sophia's future. I tuned them out, a survival skill I perfected. They planned seating like it was the UN summit. Marcus's parents at the head table. His siblings at table 2. Uncle Anthony at 3. My name never surfaced. What about Riley? Mom finally asked, tone suggesting she'd rather seat me in the parking lot. Sophia looked up with practiced sympathy. Actually, Mom, with limited space and so many important guests, I'm not sure we can accommodate everyone. You're not inviting your own sister to your engagement gala? I asked, still calm. It's not that simple, Sophia snapped. This event could open doors for Marcus's firm. We need the right impression, and I'd give the wrong one. Don't be dramatic, Mom sighed. Sophia is simply being practical. We can't have this. She gestured at my jeans like they were contagious. You're at the most exclusive clubhouse in Connecticut dressed like you mow lawns for a living. The waiter cleared plates. Sophia ordered creme brulee. I declined. Then she pulled up her phone and launched into table-setting fantasies. White roses, gold chargers, monogram napkins. Mom nodded along. I sat watching the water ring on the linen. Invisible as always. Sophia was mid-rant about centerpieces when the real knife twisted. Of course, we'll need to be careful about who appears in the photographer's shots, she said pointedly. The society pages will be watching. Marcus's firm is very prominent. Translation: no room for the sister who might ruin the aesthetic. Lunch finally ended. Mom made a show of paying with the family account. Her treat? A celebration of Sophia's engagement. As we stood to leave, Sophia spotted Kate Preston across the foyer and rushed off to network, leaving Mom and me by the fountain. Riley, Mom said quietly, I hope you understand. We're not being cruel. We're protecting Sophia's future. This marriage matters for our standing in the HOA. Marcus comes from real influence. His connections could help all of us, but only if we present the right image. And I'm not the right image. Not currently, she admitted with that pitying smile I hated. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Better clothes, a more impressive job, maybe meet someone from a proper family. Things could change. I'm happy with my life, I said. That's because you don't know what you're missing, Mom replied. You've settled for so little you think it's enough. Before I could answer, Sophia returned flushed with triumph. Kate's coming and bringing her husband, the new partner. Marcus will be thrilled. We headed toward the exit, Sophia and Mom chatting about wedding dress shopping. I trailed a few steps behind, the invisible sister. We were almost at the doors when Sophia stopped dead. Oh, there's Kate, wait. Actually, she grabbed my arm, voice suddenly sharp. You can't leave through the main entrance dressed like that. People might think you're, well, not really part of our circle. Sophia, I said quietly, I live here. I'm a resident. She actually laughed. Riley, do you have any idea what the annual HOA dues are? $15,000. Plus special assessments. You can barely afford your little ranch mortgage. She's right, Mom supplied. It's embarrassing enough you showed up looking like this. Let's not compound it by having you parade out the front doors. Use the service entrance. I stared at them both. Something cold settled in my chest. You want me to leave through the service entrance like staff? Just this once, Sophia pleaded, glancing around as a small crowd gathered. Please, I don't want anyone to see you and think. Think what? That we're struggling, Mom finished bluntly. A dozen faces turned our way, other residents. Staff. The usual country club adjacent gossips. Perfect timing for maximum humiliation. I'm not leaving through the service entrance, I said clearly. Riley, don't make a scene, Sophia hissed. I'm not making a scene. I'm leaving like any other resident. Any other resident wouldn't be dressed like a yard worker, Mom snapped. That's when Sophia made the fatal mistake. She turned to the security guard by the doors, a burly man in his 50s with the HOA badge gleaming like a tin star. Excuse me, she said in her most presidential voice. Could you please remove this poorly dressed person? She's embarrassing the entire community. The guard looked at me, then at Sophia, confusion playing on his face. Ma'am, she doesn't belong here, Sophia continued, voice rising. More phones came out. Look at her. Clearly not HOA material. We can't have people like this wandering the clubhouse. Sophia, I said softly. Don't do this. Why not? She demanded. You're always making us look bad. For once, accept that you don't belong in places like this. Mom nodded. The guard is just doing his job. Riley, perhaps if you dressed appropriately, this wouldn't be necessary. The foyer had gone graveyard quiet. 20 people watching the HOA president publicly disown her own sister. I stood perfectly still. That's when Mr. Julian Patton appeared, clubhouse director for 20 years. The only person who actually knew how to calm rich people. He'd obviously been summoned by someone who recognized the meltdown. What seems to be the problem? He asked smoothly. Mr. Patton. Thank goodness, Sophia gushed. This person needs to be removed immediately. She's not dressed appropriately, and she's causing a disturbance. Julian looked at me. Recognition flickered in his eyes, then something else. Alarm? No. Amusement. Mrs. Langford, he said carefully to Sophia. Is there a problem? This is my sister, Sophia snapped, who is not a member in good standing and needs to leave. Julian's expression never changed, but his shoulders squared. I see. And you're asking me to have your sister removed from the premises? Yes, Sophia said before she embarrasses us further. She's dressed like she mows the lawns she's standing on. Julian turned to me. I gave a tiniest nod. Mrs. Langford, he said, voice now carrying that formal weight the whole room could feel. Shall we revoke their HOA privileges? The foyer went dead silent. Sophia's face blanked. What? Shall we revoke the HOA privileges of Mrs. Eleanor Langford and Mrs. Sophia Langford? Julian repeated calmly. According to our records, they're sponsor residents under the primary ownership. What are you talking about? Sophia demanded. We've lived here for years. I'm the president. Your father's ownership interest was transferred 5 years ago upon his passing, Julian explained, pulling out his tablet. The primary deed and all associated HOA management rights were left to the designated heir in his will. Mom had gone ghostly white. That's impossible. I pay the dues every month. You've been using the privileges, Julian corrected gently. But the primary ownership and the company that actually owns Madison Estates belongs to someone else. Someone who has quietly covered every single assessment, every repair, every special levy for the past 5 years. The crowd pressed closer. Phones recording. Ooh, Sophia whispered, finally catching on. Julian turned to me with a respectful nod. Miss Riley Langford has been the sole owner of Madison Estates Holdings LLC since 2019, which means she doesn't just own the membership you've been using. She owns the entire 40-acre community. Every home site, every blade of grass, the clubhouse, the golf course, the pool, the tennis courts, all of it. The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the fountain trickle behind us. Sophia's mouth opened and closed like a fish that had just realized the pond was actually an aquarium she didn't own. Mom gripped the back of a nearby chair so hard her knuckles went white. That's impossible, Sophia finally croaked. Riley she's a data analyst. She lives in that tiny ranch. She drives a 10-year-old Toyota. Miss Langford maintains a private residence in the community, Julian said carefully. But she also owns 3 additional properties within Madison Estates, including the original development land. As for her vehicle choice, that's personal preference. The entire community, Mom whispered. 40 acres, the clubhouse, the amenities, purchased in 2021 for $47 million. The transaction was handled discreetly because Miss Langford values her privacy. I'd stayed quiet the whole time, watching their faces as their entire worldview imploded like a cheap HOA fence in a windstorm. Sophia turned to me, voice tiny. Riley, is this true? Yes. But how? Why didn't you tell us? You never asked, I said quietly. You assumed. You decided I was the family failure. The embarrassment, the one who couldn't possibly amount to anything. Nothing I said would have changed your minds. So I stopped trying. But the ranch, the job, the car, Mom stammered. I like my house. It's convenient for work. The job is the data analysis firm I founded 6 years ago. We handle financial modeling for major investment groups. The Toyota is reliable. I don't need to impress anyone with a leased Mercedes. 6 years ago, Sophia repeated, dazed. You've been successful for 6 years and never told us? I tried, I said. Remember when I invited you to my company's launch party? You said you were too busy with HOA board meetings. When I mentioned buying property in Connecticut, you assumed it was a starter condo and joked about my little fixer-upper. When Dad died and left me the original deed, you thought it was a pity inheritance because I couldn't afford my own dues. The truth was settling over them now, heavy and cold. Every time you complained about rising assessments, I continued, voice still calm. I was the one actually paying them. Every community event you hosted, every guest you brought, every special assessment, 4 new tennis court lighting, I covered it all. For 5 years. Why? Mom asked, sounding genuinely hurt for the first time. If you could afford all this, why live the way you do? Why less think? Because I wanted to see if you loved me, I said simply. The real me. Not the version you wanted me to be. Not someone who impressed your HOA friends or followed every ridiculous covenant. Just me. I paused, and I got my answer. Sophia was crying now. Mascara streaking in perfect black rivers. Riley, You tried to have me thrown out. You told security to remove me because my jeans embarrassed you. You uninvited me from your own engagement gala because I didn't fit your image. I didn't mean, yes, you did. I interrupted gently. You meant every word. As far as you were concerned, I was the weak link, the one who settled, the one who wasn't good enough for your precious community standards. Julian stood there, professional as ever, but I caught the flicker of sympathy in his eyes. Miss Langford, he said, your instructions? This was the moment. I could revoke their HOA privileges. I could ban them from the clubhouse, raise their assessments to punitive levels, turn their perfect little world into the nightmare they tried to make mine. Sweet, delicious revenge. But looking at Mom's pale face and Sophia's running mascara, I felt only bone-deep tiredness. Their privileges continue, I said. For now. But note in the records that they are sponsored residents only. They have zero authority over policy, enforcement, or guest access. And they certainly have no authority to have anyone removed from the premises, especially not the actual owner. Understood, Julian said with a slight bow. I'll update the records immediately. Wait, Sophia said desperately. Riley, please. I am sorry. We're sorry. We didn't know. You didn't care, I corrected. That's different. You didn't care who I actually was or what I'd built. You only care how I made you look to the other board members. The gala, Sophia rushed. You'll come, right? I'll put you at the head table. I'll tell everyone the truth. I don't want you to tell everyone anything, I said. I came today for family lunch because, despite everything, I still hoped we could just be family. But you made it clear that's impossible unless I fit your checklist. That's not fair, Mom protested weakly. Isn't it? When was the last time you asked about my life without judgment? When did you last show interest in my work or my choices without a lecture about standards? When did you treat me like someone worth knowing instead of someone to manage and hide? They had no answer. The community is yours to enjoy, I continued. I'm not taking that away. But I'm done shrinking myself so you can feel superior. I'm done apologizing for not following rules you never bothered to understand were ridiculous in the first place. I turned to Julian. Thank you for handling this professionally. Of course. Miss Langford, will you be staying for your usual afternoon tea? Not today. But please put their lunch on my account. Riley, Sophia called as I walked toward the doors. I stopped and turned. Send me an invitation. If you want me there as your sister, as someone you actually value, I'll consider it. But if I'm just decoration for your perfect HOA photo op, save the stamp. I walked out through the main entrance, sneakers squeaking one last time on the marble. Behind me, the murmurs exploded. Phones were already uploading clips to the neighborhood Facebook group. By tomorrow, every resident in Madison Estates would know the truth. My phone buzzed as I reached my Toyota. Julian, quarterly reports just came in. Assessments collected on time. Membership applications up 18%. Tennis court renovations you approved are already drawing new interest. Well done. Miss Langford. I smiled and slipped the phone away. I bought Madison Estates 3 years ago, not as some ego trip, but as a private gift to myself, a reminder that I'd built something real on my own terms. The fact that my sister and mother had been strutting around it for years, never suspecting who actually signed their violation notices, was just the universe's dark little joke. As I merged onto the highway back toward the city, my phone started ringing. Sophia, then Mom, then Sophia again. I let them all go to voicemail. They'd be calling for weeks, apologizing, explaining, trying to rewrite history. Maybe they'd even mean it this time. Maybe they'd finally see me. But I learned something permanent today. Their love had always come with covenants. Conditional on my success looking exactly like theirs. Conditional on my life fitting their bylaws. Conditional on my choices never embarrassing them at the clubhouse. And I was done living under their review board. I had a company to run, properties to manage, and a quiet little ranch that made me happy even if it didn't impress the neighborhood Karens. That was enough. Dad had known. In his will, he'd left the original deed to me with a single note. For Riley, who never needed anyone's permission to be extraordinary. He'd seen the storm coming from Sophia and Mom and quietly handed me the keys to the kingdom. The records would show the truth now. Every time Sophia swiped her president card at the gate, every time Mom signed for a guest pass, the system would quietly remind them who actually owned the ground under their perfectly pedicured feet. That felt like consequence enough. No dramatic banishment. No public shaming beyond what they'd already done to themselves. Just the quiet, relentless knowledge that the sister they tried to escort out like trash was the one who owned every blade of grass they'd spent years pretending made them special. I smiled at the highway ahead. The best revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right, while they're still standing on the property you bought. And somewhere in the distance, I could already imagine the next HOA board meeting. Sophia trying to call order while everyone stared at her like she was the one wearing the wrong jeans. The thought made me laugh out loud for the first time all day. Weeks later, the invitation arrived. Thick cream cardstock, gold embossed, smelling like expensive regret. You are cordially invited to the engagement gala of Sophia and Marcus Langford. Head table. No dress code required. I stared at it for a long minute, then slipped it into the drawer with the rest of the HOA notices I'd never bothered to fight. Sophia called again that night. Voice small. Riley, please come. I'll announce everything. I'll tell them you own it all. I'll step down as president if you want. Just don't hate us. I don't hate you, I said. I just don't need your approval anymore. That's different. Silence stretched. Then, softly, I was awful. I know that now. You were scared, I replied. Scared of losing the image you spent years polishing. But images crack. Sophia, especially when the person holding the polish is the one who actually owns the mirror. She laughed, a watery, broken sound. The whole neighborhood knows. The Facebook group is blowing up. Someone posted the security cam footage. It's gone viral in the HOA meme pages. They're calling me President Karen now. Good, I said. Maybe next time you'll think twice before calling security on family for wearing jeans. Riley, I really am sorry. I believe you. But sorry doesn't erase the years. It just means the next chapter can be different if you want it to be. I do, she whispered. I really do. We hung up. I walked outside to my own backyard. Nothing fancy, just a little patio with a fire pit and the old Toyota parked where it belonged. The stars were out. Somewhere across the community, Sophia was probably pacing her McMansion, staring at the same sky, realizing for the first time that the view belonged to me. I smiled, raised my coffee mug to the night, and toasted the quiet victory. Not the loud kind with lawyers and evictions. The better kind. The kind where the underdog finally stops shrinking. The rules get rewritten by the person who always owned the pen. And the Karens of the world learn that the ground they walk on might actually be titled in someone else's name. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you win an HOA war without firing a single violation notice. You just remind them who wrote the original covenants. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story of quiet revenge and HOA justice, drop a like. Share it with every neighbor who's ever gotten a nasty gram about their lawn height. And subscribe for more tales where the little guy turns out to own the whole damn neighborhood. Because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't burning the clubhouse down. It's owning it.